Hey, I want to say hi guys, hi again guys, how are you doing? In this video I have a little very simple, another game that I've created. It's not a real game, okay, don't worry, it's not an actual real game. It's just a test, it's another test one, okay. I made this in Construct Classic. The first original one, the best one, Construct Classic. The reason it's the best one in my opinion is because it's one of those softwares where not only do you not need to do any coding to make games, but also it's the only one that you can just, it seems, directly export Windows playable programs, games. Okay, so you don't need to go through any internet stuff like whatever apps and other stuff, you know, online and paying for stuff. So Construct Classic's great. Remember I said that before. If you saw my other recent video on this, you'll have seen something I did. Okay, another game, kind of like a side-scrolling example in this kind of really crappy art. I'm just doing simple examples here, but it was a side-scrolling kind of like fight test from King of the Fight. Streets of Rage type game. Anyway, in this one we're looking at how we would do some programming for a Zelda, let's say an old school RPG, like old Zelda style RPG type game. So the green thing here represents as I'm moving, and you may have noticed the camera's moving and following it too as I'm controlling. That represents a character. This would be a character if I was doing proper art. This is what I would have, and I can walk in all these different directions here. It's like a top-down thing, but you know, you could do it, could draw everything so it's slightly on the angle if you wanted to. Depends how you do your proper art, you know. Now, when I walk up to this red thing, this red thing up here in the top middle, this could represent anything. It could be a door, it could be a character, some kind of interactive thing. Well, I've made it so that when my character touches it, something happens. This thing appears, this blue box. Now, this could be anything. I've just made it so that when I touch this thing, this appears. When I move away, it disappears. But as long as I'm touching that, it stays open, stays on. So what I'm thinking is that this is one way you could do this. Many ways you could do this. So when one thing touches another thing here, something happens, or you could make it so that when you touch something or overlap something and then you press a button and the same thing, you know, something happens, let's say. And you could have multiple things, like different buttons do different things, but what I've got here is just a simple setup when my character walks up to this thing and something appears, and when I walk away it disappears. My idea would be, for one example, okay, this could be the red thing here that I'm touching, the red thing, that could be a character, another character maybe, and the blue box below could represent a text. This could be a text box, so the character speaks to you. A small dialogue box maybe with the character saying something, you know. And you don't have to make other things change or appear or disappear. You could just make it so that this red thing itself changes. So maybe if I walked into this red thing, maybe it would be like a door, and maybe it would take me to another level, or the thing would change, you know. Or maybe if I pressed a button and I punched something, I would break it, like break through a wooden box or something, you know, things like that. You can change things. So I've just got really shitty simple art here. I'm just showing you this for fun, okay, just as a test. So I've got this set up here. Now if I walk over there to this weird, it looks like a letter Y almost. This is just like a red scribble, pink scribble on the right here. If I walk up to that, what will happen? Everything's gone. It's taken me to another level. This is another level, supposedly, and this could just be an image on the screen. It could be, or it could just be an image on the screen or something, a different image. And I've got it so that when you press another button, something else will happen. And all I've got is I've set it so that my mouse will click, just for another example. So when I click my mouse over this mess here, this purple mess, it takes me back to my previous level. It could just take me to another level, or take me somewhere else, or something else could happen, you know. It could be a game where you travel back and forth through a map, or something like that, you know. I've still not found out though how to, I'm trying to work this out because I did know before, but I'm trying to work out how to get my character back to where we were. Like now you can see my green little character here. We're back where we were. It took us back to this level, so let's imagine that this level is a map. My idea was I walk up to something, like in this case we're walking up to this one over here, and let's say, for example, if it was a room, I'd go up to it. Now we're in the room, it takes us to the scene of the room. There may be text in here or whatever, and the idea was that when I leave this place or whatever, however this level would be, when I leave it, I want my character not to be here. I go back to the map screen where I am, but the problem is it starts me right at the beginning again. It's set my character right to where the character originally starts on the map. I wanted it so that my character would appear basically just right where we left him, like right there. So outside the entrance to a door, let's say, or something like that. You know, like you go in for example, you go into a room, you go into a shop or into a building, and then when you come back out of there, the character should still be standing by the door, right? They shouldn't appear miles away from it. This is something I still need to figure out, because I know what I'm doing and I know how to set the position as well for characters. I do know how to do that, but I think it's because of the fact that I set this as a level change. That's what made it different. I wanted to make it so that it's just you know, an image change basically. That's what I really wanted it to do. I know one way of doing this, if I was to have like a very small map, you know, and that might work that way. Probably is one of the best ways to do it without, so I mean like without the camera moving and stuff. But because I made this one big, I think really that's what I've got to really do, like make levels bigger, maybe where the character's moving around and so the camera can follow the character. But then for the map, which should really be the big thing, I may have to just make it as one single screen where the camera doesn't move to follow the character. It could just be like a little icon, like in the old school, like Zelda's, or the old school, you know, Mario or Zelda, where you had a small map. The camera didn't move, but the character moves to the different places. Now, what you did have in those old games, though, what you did used to have in the 8-bit and 16-bit and all the old school games, what you did used to have was a map like that, where you'd have the whole map on the screen, and then let's say my character goes to one place, let me think about it, goes to one, you know, yeah, that's basically it. So every map, like every screen like we got here, it would be like, let's say you've got a massive world and you need different screens to show different parts of the entire map. You know what I mean? So let's say, let's give you a really simple example. You've got a whole world, let's say like let's say Hyrule Field, okay, Hyrule Field in Zelda, the Ocarina of Time, okay, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. That's a 3D game, it's totally different, I know, it's very different. But let me just give you an example, okay. Let's imagine seeing that whole map of that, just that field. Let's just imagine that field, okay. Yeah, you've got your other places like Kakariko Village, you've got your Zora's Domain, and you've got, you know, the marketplace, all the different places, okay, Lon Lon Ranch, you know, everybody knows what I'm talking about, man, Gerudo Valley, right, you know, the, was it Goron bloody city, and what was it, the mountain, that Death Mountain, volcanoes and stuff. I personally, you know, Kokiri Forest and all the amazing stuff, but let's just go back to what I'm saying, right? Zora's Domain's the best, man. Did you like Zora's Domain when it was with the water, or when it was frozen in ice? And let's get back to what I'm saying. Okay, let's just imagine Hyrule Field, okay, the big field. Now let's imagine I was going to have this whole field on my screen as one whole map, so that we don't move, like the camera doesn't follow me and move. I would have to have, that means I would have to have my character very small as a little target. But let's say I wanted to keep it the same size. Or let's say I wanted to have just show part of the map, so that I moved my character around, but the camera doesn't follow it. It just doesn't need to. It just shows that area of the map. Then when I get to the next part of when I get to a certain, let's say a halfway point, or like across some bridge or something, or some gateway. Let's just imagine a gateway or something. Then when I go to the next like map screen, you know, you could have like map screen 1, map screen 2, for example, like that. Then the character would always start at the beginning of that. You know what I mean? That's the best way I can basically think of it as, you know. But yeah, it's basically like that. It's basically like that, you know. I mean, that's basically like what it is, you know. It's like how would the character get back to where he was? That's just the only problem. How would the character get back to where he was, you know? It would have to be like a looping thing or something. It'd have to be like, let me think about that. Yeah, it would have to be like that. So you wouldn't be able to get back the way you came. You know what I mean? Like, if I was to cross the bridge on the side of the screen, then I would end up on map screen 2. But if I wanted to go back across the bridge and go back to where I was, we'd have the same problem. He wouldn't actually be starting right there on that bridge. He'd have to start right on the other left far side of the screen again, where that map starts. So every map, basically screen, is the character starts in the same in one set place, basically. Now there are ways to program this. This is a simple one as well as say this construct 1, but there are ways to program it so that the character can appear in different places, or you know, different how many times you do it or whatever. But I'm still learning. But it's good anyway. I'll say that it's definitely good. Unless you made it where you literally finish one map screen. When that's done, you move on to the next one. There is no going back sort of thing, and that kind of will be okay. Like it might work in a story sense, but a lot of the time, really, you want to have consistency. Oh, you want to have freedom. You want to have the fun and freedom to go back and explore and stuff. But then again, is there any point to? There may be point to do that. Unless there's like a portal, but then if you're not doing a sci-fi or a fantasy type thing, as I say, then how would you have that? But, you know, if there's a portal, let's say, would be the only thing where you appear in one place and appear in another place, like some fantasy, that would work. But otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. The character goes from one side of the screen, you know, from left to right, goes across a bridge, then the next map screen comes on, then you move around and you go back, and he just appears on the left-hand side of the first screen. That wouldn't make sense. He'd have to be on the right-hand side of the first screen because that's the bridge he crossed. If you just continue going right to the right-hand side of the screen, for example, following it all the way through map screen 2, and then you appear right at the beginning again. That doesn't make much sense, does it? But I mean, you could do that. I mean, there are games that are like that, where there's like a gate or some kind of path. They know this path leads back. You know, this path leads back home. So you didn't see how he went the whole way, but you could do that. I mean, they do that in cartoons and movies and stuff anywhere, where you don't see exactly how the character got from one place to the next, but you know they got there. So I guess it would make sense. It's the imagination sometimes, and sometimes your ideas can get you in the way. You know, ideas can open doors or close doors. It's crazy. Or a lack of ideas can do that too. You know, you just got to move on and be fluid in your thought and just be inspired by many different kinds of ways. Study the ways other games are made and cartoons and stuff like that, and it just gives you ideas. Films, TV shows, whatever. It just gives you ideas how you can make your shows or your games. You know. But yeah, this is a quick one. So I got this here. We're going to work it out. There's many things you could do. Enemies, fighting, and pickups and whatever you can pick up in it. Collect. So I'm going over here, bang, okay, I talk to a character, a speech box appears with some text telling me where to go or something about his life or something, you know, and then I go over here and then you just walk away from there, or you can press another button or something maybe, you know, you work certain things out. I think that does work as well. Hold on. Yeah, that works as well actually. Hold on. No. Okay, but yeah, so I walk away, go over here, touch this one, takes me to another place. I click on it with the mouse and it takes me right back here, but I'm in a different spot. So this is the thing we've got to fix. Otherwise, just not making me come back here, you know. I guess that's the way you do it. You have to do it by just making it so that the only way to get back here, if this was the start, would be like a looping thing that goes all around, but it's not from there to there. It'd be like another gate or sort of another opening to a path, and it tells you, okay, this will take you back to here, sort of thing, you know. and then we don't know how they did it, but he just did it. Okay, thanks for watching this. Sorry to ramble. Another little practice one. Okay, yeah.